When I was a rookie with Golden State, I'll never forget this story. Before every game, we always had shoot around, practice in the morning, and Monte Ellis, he was notorious for shooting these air balls during shoot around. I remember one time he shot like 2 or 3 of them, and one of the coaches said to him, "Come on, Monte, lock in." He stopped the whole practice, and Monte was like, "Hey man, do you want me to hit shots now at 10 a.m. or tonight at 7 p.m.? Because tonight at 7 p.m. you better bring your popcorn and be ready." And I remember Monte saying, he's like, "I'm gonna score 40." And I just love this story because as a rookie, just seeing the confidence and the fearlessness that he had, it just really, really resonated with me. And I know that right now in 2020, this concept of fear is so prevalent. Because right now what we've seen is we've seen so many tragedies, we've seen deaths of celebrities, we've seen so much racial tension, natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, fires, explosions, and we've seen COVID. And the effects that it has on our health, the economy, self-isolation. Right now, a third of all Americans are dealing with clinical anxiety and depression, and the number of people who have a depressed mood has doubled. And on top of that, there's so many reports that talk about unprecedented and historic rises in anxiety. And so fear is a topic that I want to talk about today because, truth be told, everybody struggles with fear. And, when I was young, I was known for being brash, arrogant, bold. And I remember when I was, maybe 10, 11 years old, I told my mom, I was like, "Mom, I'm going to make the NBA one day." And I always had this fearlessness about me. And as, I went into my NBA career, I remember I came onto the scene in 2012 playing for the New York Knicks, and I had an unbelievable run, and I was able to make some history, and that stretch was called Linsanity. And at that time, I was literally the most popular person on the planet. I had everything going for me. I had so much success. I was playing out of my mind, and it was so far above and beyond anything I could have dreamed of. But the next few years after that, I started to really experience a lot of letdowns, a lot of failure, and it got to the point where I was so ashamed to even walk outside. I didn't even want to leave my house. I didn't want to go on any of my social media. I didn't want to go on ESPN or any news outlet. I was just so ashamed because everything that I worked so hard to achieve, I started to lose. I lost my starting position. I lost a lot of endorsements, and I lost a lot of the popularity. So many fans that used to support me no longer supported me. And during these few years, I remember I kept telling myself, you know what, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to keep getting better. Every time I got knocked down, I would keep standing up. And I went through so many different things. And then I got traded, and I changed teams, and I went through some other experiences. But I always kept telling myself, just wait. The minute I get this opportunity, I've been working so hard. The minute I get this opportunity, I'm going to show everybody again. And that opportunity came 4 years later. Summer of 2016, I signed a 3-year contract with the Brooklyn Nets as a starting point guard for a coach that loved me in an offensive system that perfectly suited me. And I remember going into that upcoming season, I was like, this is everything I've waited for. This is everything I've dreamed for. And that first season came, and I had 3 straight hamstring injuries. I missed 60 games. And again, I was devastated, but I told myself, you know what? Get up, rehab, do everything you need to do. And I put in such an amazing months of work. And the following season came around, and I was like, this is it. First game of the season, I go up for a layup. I come down on my knee. Complete tear of my patellar tendon. I missed all 82 games that season. And I can't even explain what it's like during those 6 years since Linsanity to go through all those different disappointments. And even from there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep getting back up. All right, I'm going to rehab for a year straight. I'm going to make my body right. I'm going to get my game to be even better. I'm going to come back stronger. And then in the summer, I got traded. And by the end of that season, I wasn't even able to make it on the court and be a part of the rotation because, I was just basically getting DNPs, which stands for did not play. And again, I was like, you know what, that was my first year back from multiple injuries. I'm just gonna keep working. I'm getting better. But then free agency came around last summer, and I got no NBA contracts. And I remember thinking to myself, I mean, it was the first time in 9 years that I had zero contract offers from any NBA teams. And a lot of you guys might remember this, but last year I gave a sharing and I was bawling and I was just crying, talking about the pain of losing my NBA dream. And it just seemed like this climb and this journey and this path was so difficult that every time I calmed the storm, the boat would get rocked again. And so what I ended up doing was, with no NBA offers, I signed a deal in the Chinese Basketball Association, the CBA, with the Beijing Ducks. And, you know, going in, I had such a determined mindset and I had such a killer intention. But I was so damaged and I carried so much emotional baggage that even though my intention was to do amazing things, I had such a fearful mindset. And a lot of you guys might think, wow, celebrities, athletes, we are lifted up to be these completely fearless people. And the truth is we're not. We're just like anybody else. We're literally just like anybody else. And even though, looking on paper is like, the season came and went and I was an all-star and there were many things that went my way and positive things that happened. But at the end of the day, I still struggled with so much fear this past season. And that's what I really want to share today. I mean, it was so bad. The first game, the opening game, was an away game, and I was in the hotel. I woke up from my pregame nap, and I remember I stood up, and I was going to go to the bathroom, and I remember all of a sudden I was just like, I had no energy in my body. I became weak, and I just stumbled, and I fell back onto the bed, and I just crawled up in a fetal position. I just laid there for a couple minutes because the anxiety was like, it was so much, it was getting to me so badly, and I was just like so nervous for the game. And even during some of the games that I played, there's so many times when it felt like I had no confidence. Even, things could be going great. We could be, we might have like a 15-point lead, but then all of a sudden these thoughts would come in like, oh, you're going to blow that lead. You're not going to be able to hang on to that lead. Or even when I was hot, I would hit a few 3-pointers in a row, and then I'd be like, oh, well, the next one's probably not going to go in because I hit so many in a row. And I just found myself just apologizing for everything, just trying to be such a people pleaser. And if a team scored and I was anywhere near the play, I would immediately go to the coach. I'm like, my bad. I should have been there. I should have done something. Or, I remember one game, I had a great game, but we lost. And one of my teammates had a rough game. And I remember going up to him in the back of the bus and I was like, hey, that's my bad. I should have found a way to get you to play better tonight. And I just started apologizing and taking blame for everything, for all these things. And I was just so filled with fear that every move, every play, every game, every day, there was just so much fear in everything that I was doing. And even after the games, I would immediately go on my phone and I would start comparing to everybody else. Oh, I could have had a great game and we won. And then I look at the box score of some other game and it's like, oh, why couldn't I have had as many assists as this player? Or, oh, this team's ahead of us in the rankings. We got to get there. We got to catch them. And everything came to a peak in January because the way the CBA works is our team had 3 foreigners and you can only register 2 foreigners at a time to play. And because our team, we lost a lot of our big men to injuries, so I had to get rotated out. And when I got rotated out in January, I mean, this was when I had to come face to face with my greatest basketball fear. And my greatest fear as a basketball player is that I would lose it all, that I would be completely unwanted and unneeded. And coming off of last summer where, I had 0 contract offers and I had that feeling where, oh, I lost my entire dream and I'm completely unwanted, I started to spiral and I started to think about, okay, well, if I get rotated out and they play really well, then they might not need me and they might not let me get back into the rotation. And then maybe Beijing won't want me as a basketball player anymore. And then I'll come out and then I won't even be able to play in the CBA anymore because the CBA won't even want me. And then my fans will stop supporting me. And I started to think all of these really, really negative thoughts. And I know that, when I talk about my greatest basketball fear, this is nothing compared to a lot of the situations that you guys are going through in real life. And so I'm not trying to draw that comparison, but as a basketball player, I mean, my greatest fear is that I would fail at the highest level and that everything that I worked so hard for, I would lose it all. And one of my teammates, he texted me that night and he said to me, I just met you this season, but when I would watch you play during Linsanity, during New York times, I would only watch through the screen. But even through the screen, I could see this fearlessness in your eyes. But through the first 30 games of the season, I sensed so much fear in you. And it was at that point when I was like, you know what? This stops today. I'm going to wage war on fear. And I was like, this fear is crippling me, it's overtaking me, and I must fight it. And it was such a contrast. It got to the point even I remember this one game, it was like at the end of the game and the other team had the ball, and I found myself thinking like, oh, well, if they hit this shot and we don't have any time left, we're going to lose, but at least I don't have to take the last shot. Because if I take the last shot and I miss, like, I don't know if I can handle that. And I was literally unrecognizable even to myself because I'm a player who has never shied away from the biggest moments. I've always wanted the ball in my hands at the end of the games. And I was so unrecognizable to myself. And at this moment, COVID hit and our season was postponed for 5 months. And so during this 5-month stretch, I came back to the U.S. For 2 months. And during this time, I started having conversations with my friend Mano Watsa. And Mano, as we were talking, Mano was just telling me, talking to you, you have so many limiting beliefs. You have so many fears. And he started to explain to me that, see, in life, we have a lot of facts, right? There are certain things that are true. You did get injured. You did rupture your patellar tendon. You did have no NBA offers. And you did sign with the CBA team. And these are facts. But when we add our emotions and our feelings and our interpretations into these facts, we walk away with beliefs. And so it's facts plus our emotions and interpretations equals beliefs. And what I started to realize was that my beliefs were so off and my beliefs were causing so much fear. And oftentimes our limiting beliefs are actually lies. And so Mano and I did an exercise and I wrote down all of my limiting beliefs, but I'm gonna share with you the top 2. The first one, why do my dreams never come true and why do things never work out for me? See, the fact was that, in this situation, I had an injury, but I added my emotions and interpretations, and I walked away with this belief that my dreams never come true. And that's just a lie, because I've had so many dreams come true. And my second biggest limiting belief was that all of my hard work won't actually produce success. And, in the Bible, God tells us in Romans that we're not to receive the spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. And he tells us in 2 Timothy that we have not been given a spirit of fear, but of power. And I think that's really innate to us. That's something that we're drawn to, right? Like Monte Ellis, that night, he scored 44 points, and he had this fearlessness about him. I remember right before my first breakout game for Linsanity, I remember my agent, Roger Montgomery, calling me, and he said, hey, man, if you don't play well tonight, this is your last game in the NBA. I was like, thanks. And he was like, doesn't matter if you play well or not, doesn't matter if you succeed or not, I need you to do one thing. I need you to just play Jeremy Lin basketball. And I remember it's this concept of confidence. In the NBA playoffs, we saw when the Raptors and Celtics were playing, we saw OG Anunoby, he hit a game winner. And during the press conference in his game winner, they asked him, they said, hey, after you hit it, how come you didn't celebrate? And he said, I expected to make it. I don't shoot trying to miss. I wasn't surprised. And I was like, bro, that is such a savage response. And I was like, I can see why your parents named you OG. And it's this amazing level of confidence that we're drawn to, but that's how we're supposed to live life, to be fearless. And so what I had to do with all my limiting beliefs is I had to really replace them. And to me, the best way to do that was to remind myself about God, who he is, and what his promises are. And, fear was something that I've always struggled to some degree during my NBA career and professional basketball career. And over the course of my career, I just learned how to cope and defend against fear. But this year, when I came back during COVID, and when I sat down with Mano, this was the first time that I really attacked fear. And I wasn't just playing defense. I went on the offensive, and I really, really went after all of my limiting beliefs and all of my fears. And we did a lot of things. I had to reconcile with my past. I reconciled with people and certain experiences. But I had to name each fear. And then I had to get to the root of each one of them. And after that, I had to equip myself with scriptures and God's promises. And so for every single one of my fears, I had a verse from the Bible, a scripture that would help me counter that. And, I think this is something that is not enough just to do it once. It's not that simple. And in the Bible, it talks about that we are given a shield of faith to extinguish the flaming arrows of the evil one. And as I started to go back into training and the season, I would see these fears continue to come back. And I envisioned them as these flaming arrows, but that I could use my new beliefs and I could use faith to really extinguish these arrows. And I want to talk about 3 of them, and I hope that you guys can relate to some of them. And again, I'm coming from a basketball perspective, which is not nearly the same as what you guys are going through. A lot of you guys that are watching this are going through real life problems and things way bigger than what I could ever go through on the court. But the first one I want to talk about is worry and pessimism. And for me, like I said, one of the fears that would always come up is, bad things always happen to me. Or I would start to think, the CBA season is just a huge setup for another huge letdown. Or my body won't hold up. I'm not going to be able to stay healthy. And maybe you guys feel that way about different things going on in your life or in the world, and maybe the weight of social injustice is just too much for you, and you're filled with worry and pessimism. Or maybe it's the political unrest in the place that you're living, or the way that you're, when you read the news and you're just like, this is the worst, or this will never get better. Or maybe you have health concerns with COVID, and you're thinking and you're worrying and you're having all of these types of thoughts. And so I had to really replace these beliefs with God's promises. And so I started to remind myself that God has plans to prosper me and not to harm me, that he redeems all things for my good and his glory, and that God is a God of restoration, and that one day he will bring ultimate justice. And the second one that I really started to struggle with was doubt. All my hard work won't produce success. Or there are times, whether it's off the court or even in the games, where I think to myself, I'm just not good enough. Or, my jump shot isn't going to go in when I need it to go in the most. And you guys may be thinking, nothing you do actually matters. Maybe you guys have poured in so much work and continue to grind, and then because of COVID or because of other things, that your opportunity that you had been preparing for got taken away from you. Or maybe it's this concept where with everyone or so many people dealing with different types of financial pressure, job security, you may be thinking to yourself that, I'm just not good enough, or nothing I do, doesn't matter how hard I work, it doesn't matter. And again, to be able to counter that, I started to think about different verses. Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we don't give up. With God at my right hand, I am unshaken. That with faith, I can move mountains. And the third one that I want to talk about is this concept of feeling insecurity or feeling unloved. And, for me, sometimes I think, people always betray me, or maybe my fans will stop supporting me, or maybe my teammates won't like me. And maybe you guys deal with some of these and you have doubt in your relationships, or you have insecurity in your relationships, or you fear being unloved, and maybe you think to yourself, I'm just going to be single the rest of my life. Or maybe it's the self-isolation that a lot of people are going through with COVID that brings this new sense of deep loneliness. And I think about how God's love is unfailing, how it's bigger and greater than anything this world can offer, that he gives us peace beyond understanding, that we're to be strong and courageous because God never leaves or forsakes you. And I'm reading off some of these promises, and right now they may just sound like words, but there's a power in the right word coming at the right time. And I remember when I was actually this was a few months before Linsanity, I was with the Houston Rockets at the time, and I remember we finished our morning practice, and I was so discouraged, I packed up my entire locker room, and I left. And I called my agent, and I called Roger, and I said, I'm done. Tell the Rockets to cut me. I'm done. And I was thinking about quitting and giving up on my NBA dream. And I remember I went back, and my mom was in Houston to support me during this time, and she was just like, I love you. And then my agent, Roger, he was on the phone, and he was just like, God's not going to let you down. or God has this whole thing under control. And it was those words that I heard, it was the right words at the right time that just hit me and pierced me so deeply. And that's what these promises have been doing for me this past season. And one thing I learned is that if I need to stop listening to myself and start talking to myself, because I can't trust my self-talk. As a sinner with limitations and being imperfect, I can't trust my own self-talk, because if I trust my own self-talk, I end up with a lot of fears. I would constantly tell myself, oh, you're not good enough, or, oh, this is not going to happen, or you don't deserve this. And so I had to replace that, and I had to stop listening to myself, and I had to start talking to myself through Scripture. And I love God's promises because they're unfailing, they're tried and true, and there are so many that can help with every single situation that we may be going through. And so as I start to do this exercise with Mono, we start to train, because during this time, these 5 months off, our team was still training. And I remember my trainer, Josh Fan, he came up to me after one of the workouts, and he was like, bro, I've never seen you do this type of stuff. He's worked with me my whole career. He's like, I've never seen you shoot like this. And I was doing the workouts. I mean, I was hitting everything from different, I was doing the Luka, I was doing the James Harden. I was just at a different level, because as I was going through these workouts, when the limiting beliefs would come and the fears, I would attack them and I would kill them. And even as we went back into the quarantine bubble and the CBA season started up, prior to that, our longest win streak was 4 games. We finished the season the hottest team, or the second hottest team, and we had an 11-game win streak, and the presence that my teammates felt from me and the aura that I had was just one of confidence and fearlessness. And that's not it. It wasn't just on the court, right? Because this isn't just only applicable to basketball. I mean, I started to see so many changes and so much more fearlessness even off the court. And I started to share my story. I started to share my faith. And I mean, this is a topic and a time for, this is another whole nother talk. But I mean, as I started to do that, it was unbelievable. Every time I would take a step of faith, God would show up and God would meet me there. And I remember as the playoffs started, we were in the league semifinals, and it was tied up, and we were in the last game, the tie-breaking game, and we were down 3. And I caught the ball, and it was inbounded to me. I had 6 seconds. I had to go the length of the court, behind the back, and then I went into a step back. I got a little bit of space, and I let go of 3 to tie it and go into overtime. And I remember going up the court, I was like, I'm not passing, Mamba mentality. Like, it doesn't matter, I got to get the shot up. I'm going to shoot it. And I had confidence that I was going in, and I was like, we're going to send it to overtime, we're going to win. And I did my step back, I shot the shot, and it went through the air, and it missed. And I was like, I wanted to go into the locker room and cry. And I was like, man, all of that just to miss? All that hard work, the mental breakthrough just to miss? And I remember thinking to myself, that night as I went back to the hotel, I was like, we lost the game, we lost in the box score, but I don't actually have any regrets. And I know with The Last Dance, a lot of people have seen it, and we talk about, Jordan a lot. And MJ has a great quote. He says, I can accept failure, because everyone fails at something, but I can't accept not trying. And I thought about it, and I was like, I did miss a shot, but at least I shot it, and I had the intention to do that. And that was a very big difference than earlier in the season. And the thing about this is that God isn't Santa Claus, right? Just because we live a life of faith doesn't mean that he's going to give us every single thing we want every time we want it. That's not how it works. God never promised me a championship, right? But God did promise me a spirit of power and a spirit of faith. And he did promise me that he will turn all things for my good. And then I started to think about it. The injuries that I went through in Brooklyn, not receiving a contract in the NBA, going to the CBA, wrestling with all those fears the whole season. My true reward was that my fear was exposed, and I found this new faith in Christ that I never had before, and I had another level of fearlessness. The level of fearlessness that I was able to get was something that I had never, ever experienced before. And even to this day, I feel like a new person, right? I can never go back to that old version of myself. And it's like when you go to California, you have an In-N-Out burger, you're like, I'm never going to eat any other burger from any other fast food chain, right? It's just like, I can't go back. And I wish I could spend more time talking about this, but that was a reward, was this increase in faith. But even better than that to me is just a relationship with God. And again, I wish I could spend so much time, but a relationship with God is so much better than anything this earth can offer. It's better than the greatest shots I've made. It's better than even me when I was at the peak of insanity. And again, this is something I wish I could spend more time on, but just trust me on that. This is what I've learned through my career. And I just want to take a little bit of time to ask you guys for a little bit of reflection. I mean, to think about your own life and to think about, where are your limiting beliefs? What fears are you carrying? What emotional baggage are you carrying? And, I think about my friend Sarah, and Sarah has, in the past, she's struggled a lot with fear, and at times she's been paralyzed with fear and afraid to do certain things. And this past year, as 2020 came around, she said to me, she said, in 2020, I have this new mentality. And in 2020, all I want to do is take a step. And I love that, because we're not going to figure it all out today, and life is going to come, and life is going to break us at some point, right? We're all going to feel this feeling of, wow, I don't know if I can go on at some point in our lives. But it doesn't matter what you're up against. It's all about taking one step. And see, God's love is stronger than your hurt, and his power is greater than your problems, and his promises are bigger than your fears. And that's why I think it's so important that we take on Sarah's motto, and we just take a step, and to be able to name our fears, to attack our fears, and when they come, to be able to kill them. And so as you think about it, I want to encourage you guys, what ways can you take a step? And even just to, try to understand faith a little bit more. And whether it's, starting to read the Bible, if that's the case, I suggest, the Gospel of John, or maybe it's attending a church, or right now with everything going on, it might just be attending a virtual church service, or praying for the first time ever, or praying for the first time in a long time, or talking to a Christian friend. Maybe it's, I'm going to list a list of some of God's greatest promises that have helped me shape so many of my new beliefs. I'm going to send a long list of them, and maybe it's that you look through those. And so I encourage you guys to take a step, and I just want to leave you guys with one last promise and one last belief, and the Bible says, draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. And that's a promise that he's given us. So I just want to encourage you guys listening.